9254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture,
Movies, gossip and trends, sports,
drama.
We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
to keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed.
We are such a vibe.
Y254. Imagine. Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Good morning and welcome. 14 days past the new year 2026 and it's time for News Check. Many thanks indeed for joining us, a program that is earmarked to ensure that we keep you afloat with all the latest happening in real time. A lot has been happening in the last couple of days and that is exactly what we'll be looking at. The president continues with his development tour. You do remember he was in Njue a day ago and also went for the Nyota program in Samburu County. We are also looking keenly at the political realignments that are coming up. You do remember UDA and ODM on Monday. They did announce that they are ready to sit together and make a pre-election 2027 agreement. Where does that leave the ODM party, one of the oldest and strongest and most democratic party in the country? That alone, ODM is still facing internal wrangles with a faction singing a different tune from the other. Well, where does that place ODM? Remember, 1 year and a couple of months to the general election, but you do know very well that Kenyan politics are more or less cyclic. After an election cycle, we start politics all over again. And the opposition, where does it leave the united oppositions? We can see a few cracks here and there as they try to consolidate their bases. That and much more. My name is Njue. Karo Njoroge will be your sign language interpreter for this live newscast. Many thanks indeed for making time. Remember, we are also live on our social media spaces. It's X. We're also on YouTube Live and also on our very beautiful KBC digital app. For comments, suggestions, or even where you are watching us from, we highly recommend that you do that. Allow me to rope in just to mention who I will be with this morning. But allow me just first of all to introduce my first panelist who has already arrived. He's a close friend and also a resident analyst here. Many thanks indeed for joining us. Advocate of the High Court, Gibson Nyamato Gisore. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Njue, and it's a pleasure to see you in the new year.
Yeah,
Yes.
I haven't seen you this year, but we have been talking.
Yes,
I thought I had seen you this year.
Yes.
But karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are happy. We are happy to be here and to talk to Kenyans.
A lot has been happening in the last 14 days, and we also will be looking at our political crystal ball just to see perhaps what we do expect this year. But a lot has been happening. I don't know where we should begin, but let's first of all begin with what ODM announced on Monday in the coastal county of Kilifi, where they announced that ODM is ready. They haven't started. Is ready to start a pre-election agreement with the ruling coalition UDA. Of course, it's not a big surprise after they already in the broad-based arrangement. So
How do you see this, and bearing in mind that we're also having internal wrangles in ODM?
I think for ODM, it's expected, as you have said, that they ought to, or they're in the process of having clear discussion with the UDA, or the Kenya Kwanza coalition, as it were. Reason being, you see, ODM, I told somebody a few days ago that ODM is like an orphan who has two uncles, two rich uncles, but who don't see eye to eye. You have to choose one. You have to choose which one do you go with. If you decide to go with this one, so some of the family members are saying we can go with this uncle because he's going to, depending on their interests. This uncle is going to, we know him better, he's more dependable and reliable. But this one, others are saying this one is the one who is pushing the shots, so it's calling the shots right now, and in any case we have a working arrangement. You see, in any case, in both cases, as you look at it, ODM is in Azimio. I don't think they revoked the Azimio agreement, so they can comfortably associate with the united opposition side, or whatever arrangement or coalition which will come out of it. Then on this other side, they're also in a broad-based government. And as we know, the famous saying that Njue zilimshinda fisi, so he said that the party is going to tear, as the fish, as the hyena, of course, can't go both ways. So that is the predicament which is facing ODM. And in any case, I think the Kenya Kwanza coalition has been very deliberate in lobbying the ODM in and trying to woo them, because they are trying to look into the future. This is a vote which has eluded them all through, and they came to power without that vote. And whatever vote they came with, especially the Mount Kenya region, is likely to not come as a full basket as they expected. So it's important to also lob in some new members, especially the ones from ODM, being a solid party which has structures and which has a lot of say across the country. So anybody who is going to get I'm not sure whether they will get it as a package, but a good percentage and support will also come with that goodwill as dividends, which of course are going to be very useful for the 2027 election. On the other side, we have people like Sifuna, who seem to be going against the grain. And they say they are the future of the party. Yes, and they are claiming to be the future of the party. Yeah. I think they are in a place where KANU was in 1999 to around 2001 and 2, before elections, because we had KANU A and KANU B, which of course precipitated to even formation of LDP when the late Raila Odinga and some Kalonzo and Saitoti moved out en masse and formed LDP, which was able to support Kibaki to win. So I'm seeing a replay of the 202. A replay of the 202, but as to who is going to be the beneficiary, then it's still not clear for us.
From this, a number of people have argued that ODM is fragmenting. And the reason being, you cannot have two factions where, you sit around without even the party secretary general and agree on something that more or less will affect the whole party without even involving the ODM members.
Yeah, exactly. You see, when a party has issues, then the Secretary General is the person to always look for. Because why? The major reason is because he is the one with the party instruments. You remember when ODM formed, there was ODM Kenya, and then there was the ODM. Yeah. And then the same scenario played. The Secretary General always runs away with the documents. You remember, I think it was for Manzo. I think there was an incident where Manzo was being looked for seriously. He became a very important person. Then now they had to go form ODM itself on the other side. So there was ODM Kenya and there was ODM. Yeah. So, of course, as different parties now. Yeah. So when when we have such situations or such wrangles, you expect high politics to be played. You expect people to always jump up, people to always burn their midnight oil running and chasing the Secretary General down. I think for now, Sifuna, ODM, whichever faction of ODM, they know they can't go so far without Sifuna. So, and Sifuna seems to also know how important he is, so he's also playing his card close to his chest. So we are likely to see whichever side of the coalition which wants to benefit will have to get hold of Sifuna. You remember even Mama Ida herself has already embraced Sifuna and said, you are my son. So the way Baba always kept saying that Sifuna, whatever Sifuna is saying, it's me who has said, who was told him to say. So you know that leaves us as ordinary Kenyans in a tricky situation, given that Sifuna has been saying not the very correct things, given the kind of arrangement they are in with the broad-based government. So you wonder, are they in or they out? Because the party secretary general is the one who speaks on behalf of the party, and the party honjos have already owned him. So then it leaves the rest of the members wondering, Nisisi atujui what is happening or what exactly is going on. And then there are also those ones who want to take over the party. They feel like they need to reorganize and take power now that in the absence of Baba. So that situation is what is actually causing all these jitters, because now there is succession politics. Succession politics within the party, and then there's association politics. There are those people who are looking at it that if we are not with the broad-based government, we are going to be outside and we are likely not to reap the dividends. But then there are others who are feeling like if we go this way, these are the people to benefit. So we better hang tight here and then sell ourselves to the highest bidder.
Sifuna has been the party secretary general for more than 10 years.
Yes.
And he has done a tremendous job in ensuring that the party always sticks to some of the principles that former Baba and ideals of the party that Baba strongly recognized for more than 20 years. And looking at Sifuna being the secretary general, even the Registrar of Political Parties acknowledges that Sifuna is the party secretary general. They want to start or have a sit down with the UDA party where they're going to strategize on how to make a pre-election agreement. That will need the blessings of the Secretary General.
Yes, there is no way they can go without
the same tune as a faction of the party's leadership.
You see, the Secretary General is legally is a very strong, other than the party chairman or the party leader, the Secretary General is the one who holds the legal instruments of the party. So there's nowhere they can go without, you can't come to the table negotiating without documents.
What if they decide to eject him? How would be that process? Because some of the members have already have started trying to eject some of these members.
Yeah, that is a very good move. That's a very good move, and it's easier said than done. Remember, even them having to sit down for a national delegates conference is difficult. You will need an AGM to kick him out. Or to ratify whatever decision. So where do you get the numbers? So that is the other question. And then Sifuna seems to be speaking, much as he's speaking things which are pleasing or are in tandem with the party leadership. Of course, part of the party leadership, especially the late Baba, and now Ida Odinga has already welcomed him. Then there is also the Kenyans who know the ideals of ODM. When he speaks, the rest of the leadership or the party or the rest of the party or people who associate themselves with the party seem to be feeling that this is the right statements which should be coming out of the party. And you see, that is very difficult to deal with such a person, because a section of ODM members or a section of Kenyans feel like ODM should not be in government or should not be associating with government. And that is the majority which feels like they're going to be disenfranchised. And Sifuna seems to be speaking to their hearts. And now, any decision you're going to make to kick out Sifuna, you're kicking out these people. And
I do remember last year in March when they were signing the for the signing the documents for the broad-based arrangement. Even let's go a few months before that. Sifuna had shown all intents that he was not ready for that. But he softened, and later we saw him during the signing. And Kenyans were wondering what exactly is happening. You had said that you don't ascribe to this, you don't support this, but now all of a sudden we are seeing you holding the documents. So how does he ensure that he still remains the Secretary General, despite all the squabbles that are going on in the party, and ensure that, if at all, he has said very well that 2027 we should be thinking of us as a party. Where does this leave the Secretary General?
I think for him he's pretty grounded, because any other move for Sifuna to support any other kind of aspirations might finish him politically. And being a young politician, I think he's clever than that. He knows you have to play to the gallery of those people who believe in the party. These other people now, once he plays and successfully wins that narrative, then it means these other people look like the people who are gerrymandering, or people who are out to sell the party for their own personal profiting, which does not involve the principles of ODM, which does not go in line with the key ideals of the party. And of course, as an opposition party, he has to speak to the things which affect Kenyans. And he knows that is the fodder of the day. That is what ODM stands for, and that's what Kenyans feed from to associate themselves with the party. So if he distances himself with that and starts speaking in favor of the broad-based government, then ideally, and I think that's where Baba himself was very wise not to castigate Sifuna, because he knew however much he went into the broad-based government, it was to support the leadership of the country or the leadership of the day to remain, for there to be harmony. And I think he said it himself, because it's better to have a bad government in place than not to have one. That is the basis under which they formed the broad-based government. But then that did not mean he sells himself also. So people like Sifuna remained true to the ideals of the party, and when they spoke, it means Baba was supporting him to speak so that they don't lose this support base which they have built over time. Because, you know, politically it has taken Baba 20 years. But I think before his death, they were about to celebrate the 20 years in Mombasa to build this party. So it would have been so bad to be celebrating these 20 years minus the people who have helped the party grow, and that is the Kenyans. So the moment you lose that voice, the moment you lose that credibility or that association with this larger population which makes ODM to be ODM. Remember, ODM could just wake up and say, call for mandamano, and people will be in the streets. They'll be like, why have you taken this long? That one we are supporting. It's not very easy for somebody or for a party to be formed and to have such much sway. It's very difficult. If you lose that, then you know, you don't have even a bargaining grounds or bargaining cards with whoever it is that you want to bargain with. So it's important to assuage the egos of those people who believe in the party, and then it was also beneficial for the party to ensure that they get into a broad-based government, to ensure that the stability of government, as they also try to remain true to their fan base.
And we are also now joined by Leonard Kafafa, who is a political analyst and also an economic expert. And I'll just give him a minute to warm up in regards to this. But asking you just from what you saw on Monday, where we saw a section of ODM leadership call for a presser and say that we are in the process of having negotiations with the UDA party in regards to 2027 pre-election pact. I would like to pick your mind in regards to that statement.
I think, thank you, Ben, Troy, for having me.
Welcome.
First of all, I think it didn't catch anyone by surprise, because this is an idea. This whole merger between ODM and the UDA is an idea whose time has come. We saw the beginnings of it when there was rapprochement between Baba and Ruto, and we saw the chemistry with which they worked prior to Baba's death. We saw the camaraderie, the closeness. I mean, at the point Baba was dying, or just before he passed on, I think it was at the urging of William Ruto that he went overseas to seek medical aid. And the government swung in and accorded him a state funeral, showing the prominence of the relationship that
and even the AU
and even
the presidency.
Even the AU presidency. I mean, he was supported to the hilt with all government resources. So there has been rapprochement between, essentially between Baba and Ruto, who are the figureheads of their respective parties, but more now, cascading now to the grassroots, to the other top brass, to the other party top brass, and eventually to the grassroots. So I think it's an idea whose time has come, and it is the way out. I see it as the only way out for either party. If they want to have a stab at the presidency in 2027, then they have to come together. Yeah, so it's an idea whose time has come. Yeah.
Where does it, I believe if you have issues with your neighbor and you still have issues at your home, the first place you start, mending fences is your own home. Yeah. And we have seen that ODM has internal wrangles. We have seen the leadership. There's a section of leadership now. We're not talking about a section of ODM members. We're talking about a section of ODM leadership, top leadership, of whom the likes of Sifuna and Babu don't seem to be singing the same tune as the other old guards. Just mentioned the party leader and also the chairman of the party, or the chairperson of the party, who happens to be Gladys Wanga. But they are not singing the same tune. How do they go into a pre-election pledge or pre-election arrangement and they haven't even put their house in order? Remember, ODM has stood firm and strong, not only because of Baba, because of the democracy and the members themselves, who I don't think they have been consulted about this.
Let me start by making some remarks that will bring context into what I want to say.
Yeah.
When Baba passed on, there were succession issues, naturally. I mean, most times when in Africa we die intestate, we die without wills. And it happened that Baba passed on without a political will written down, and his wishes put down on pen and paper. So succession issues have arisen, and the way I reason, and I've said it before, is that out of Baba's demise, 4 groupings of people have emerged, and they are rather clear right now. And the first of these groupings is the loyalists. The people who are very loyal to Baba, who stood with him through thick and thin, and who have earned their rightful place by his side. You're talking of the likes of Mama Ida Odinga. That's a loyalist. She's been with him through thick and thin. We are talking of the likes of Oburu Odinga. That's a loyalist. We are talking of the likes of John Buddy. That's a loyalist. Even when John Buddy wanted to run for Homa Bay, he was prevailed upon to step down in favor of Gladys Wanga, and he obeyed to the letter. We are talking about Opio Wandai. These are people who have defended Baba to the hilt. Those are loyalists. Then we have orphans, the people who are bereaved and who are left bereft by the passing on of Baba. So we are talking of the likes of we are talking of the likes of Sifuna in a way, because without Baba he would never have been. You know that he took a stab at a constituency in Western Kenya, and he didn't make a success out of it. And before that, he was I think he ran for LSK, never made a success out of it. It is only when Baba endorsed him to run for Nairobi Senator that he came into prominence, and he was actually appointed Secretary General of the party. So we have people of that sort. We have people like Babu who have actually ridden on Baba's goodwill to get to where they are. So those are the orphans that will be left behind. People like Njue, because it's by the sheer strength of Baba's personality that the likes of Njue have gotten to where they are. Then we have the opportunists. People now who want to step in and take advantage and create a bit of mayhem, get some support, purport to articulate the ideals of the party, and then go to the forefront, and then, as in come into prominence and secure for themselves some electoral position. So then we have now those who cut across the three. Yeah, they are both loyalists, they are both orphans, and they are both opportunists. And again, an example of that is Aida Odinga. She's everything that we have talked about. So it's natural now that there'll be wrangles between the loyalists, between the opportunists, and between the orphans. There'll be wrangles because everyone will be jostling for a piece of the pie, a piece of the ODM pie. So it's quite natural that there'll be that jostling. But the chips are beginning to fall into place. We can see that that clear direction is coming from someplace. And from where I sit, it is the loyalists who appear to be holding sway. Yeah, when you see the chairman, or the now chairman of the party, Mzee Oburu Odinga, getting the support of Mama Aida, then you know that it's just a matter of time before everything else falls into place. Yeah, so that is the way I see it. Yeah, it's natural to have wrangles whenever there is a vacuum, a leadership vacuum, but ODM is running a tight ship, and I don't see it disintegrating, or I don't see it breaking into factions. I think it's going to go on as a whole, as an ensemble, into whatever pact that they have with UDA.
Gibson, picking from where Leo has left, and I'm looking at the pre-election pact, if at all they have to sign that, what exactly do they need to do? One, they could decide to eject Sifuna because they need the blessings of the Secretary General, because this is something, there's a legal document that is deposited at the Register of Political Parties. Yes. So if they have to ensure that we have this goes through, they have either maybe first of all to mend fences with some of these members, including the Secretary General. They can decide to eject the Secretary General and go their own way, or which exactly is the right way for ODM to do, because at least they have the leeway of time, because we still have a couple of months to election, a year plus.
Just before I answer your question, Troy, there is one thing, my brother has given a very good analysis. There is one other element I would want to add into the fold, the cost question. You remember when Kenya got independence, even the Prime Minister, then Mzee Kenyatta, there was the Kenyan cost question. That for ODM is very significant because the coast has played a key role from the start of the party. They were part of the founding through Balala, and then of course Joe came in, and you know how strong. Every other time Baba could do anything, ODM actually, even the celebration was supposed to be done, but that's very symbolic, because cost is very symbolic for the party, and the support has been second to none. So just before this Monday, there was, I think, a celebration which was being done when they went to Mama Aida's place in Karen. Joe had organized something at the coast, and all the coast ODM leaders were there. And there were some declarations which were made that if it's not Joho, we are not. We better find our own house. You know, that is bound to bring issues now. And that's why I think it was very important to go and assure the cost of people that we are still together. And that's why I tend to agree with my brother that the chips are starting to fall into place in one way or another. There seems some kind of semblance that a majority or a greater section of the party is trying to agree that we are stronger together than apart. Now, where does that leave these orphans which Umi described? They will have to find to either align, decide to play, and by aligning it means they play second fiddle. That becomes a very difficult thing to swallow, but then they will have to make their choice. They say if you make your bet, you've got to lie in it. So they will either have to come with a quick intervention, and there is a question you asked about what happens to Sifuna and this Secretary General position. If the party coalesces around what we have described, then Sifuna should have a reason to worry. And these political orphans should have a reason to worry, because if they coalesce and sit for an NDC and then decide, they can actually tell him, Sifuna, either you are with us or you are away. You can go out and form your own party. And you see, these guys are young. These are political young turks. whom Baba was trying to mentor to take over the party. You remember the big wigs like Joho, Paranya, they had already been surrendered to the broad-based government. And Baba was very strategic. Much as he didn't leave a political will, he outlined one. It's like how the African fathers do. They never really give you a title, but they will tell you, you build it there, you build it there, you build it there.
Yeah.
I will take you to the other side.
Yeah.
So that is what Baba had done. And I think if you can see the direction which he had set in place, it would be suicidal for this party, for the party loyalists to decide to kick them out. And I think that's why Mama Ida Odinga embraced Sifuna and said, you are my son, come. So that he sends a signal to these other people that, because you cannot doubt what Ida Odinga does. You cannot doubt it. And even Oburu himself has said, Sifuna is okay, leave Sifuna alone. So it means Sifuna seems there's something Sifuna is doing right, which makes him still to be instrumental.
Yeah, and also, apologies for interjecting, but you also do remember that when just a couple of months before Baba died, I remember in a public rally he said that Sifuna, yeah, when he speaks for the party. Then he added Sifuna usikue mkali sana, you know, just to stamp his authority that indeed whatever he's saying are more or less 70-80% in support of him. And that's
the way you speak it.
It's the way you speak it that I have issues with. That creates more confidence and gives people like Sifuna, the SG, more confidence to do whatever he's doing and to say the things that he's saying today.
You can understand Sifuna, because Sifuna has got to cut himself out and look like he's strong and can be able to be trusted. And then, of course, create a brand out of this whole process for himself. And that is not easy for a young politician. If you don't put your eyes sharp out there and become like an eagle who is looking from a vantage position and then coming for the thing you want strongly. Remember, these are young Turks, and the party has people who have stuck with it for the last 20 years. So they are bound to say, you just keep running, but we are the owners of the party. And that's what Baba was trying to dissuade. There is no owner of the party. This party has got to homogeneously grow for it to maintain its tenets, so that it doesn't look like there are people who own the party and then there are people who do not belong. That means that the party will be considered to be a club, and they didn't want it to be a club. So it was important for him to find various tokens to be able to assuage the egos of those who feel like they are owners of the party because they are loyalists, they have been with you, they deserve something. That's why he first started to surrender them to the broad-based government so that they can go there and serve. And then he can be able to grow the party with the young Turks who he has now time to mentor. Remember, Baba was a mentor, even mentored the current president and even Uhuru Kenyatta. So that is what Baba did best, and that's how he knew he could be able to raise a party. So those tenets and everything, he knows they can be better carried by the young Turks. And with that, I think he left the party in very good hands. Now, the other challenge which is coming up is somebody was making a comment on social media and said, whom did Baba leave the party? There are people who never fought for anything with him. They never fought along him in the trenches. But now he's left it to people who are just mechanical people. You see, that also raises the question. Now, in the absence of those people, then whom do you look to next? You look to the people who seem to be associating with the tenets of the party. And that's what ODM, Sifuna and Babu stand for, because they give hope for the future of the party. But how they relate now with the broad-based government is now something, is I think the question which they need to fix. Once they fix that, I think they will be good.
Yes, and still, let's remain in Mombasa, because this is where they made that declaration. And I do remember a section of ODM party members, that includes the likes of Aisha Jumwa and a number of course legislators as well. They did mention something that caught my eye in regards to them forming their own political, or forging their own political path. And they say that Joho and Atosha, you know, and from where they sit,
they also do remember that what happened to the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. He didn't go in with a political party, the likes of Musalia Mudavadi, the likes of Wetangula. They came in for their political pact with their own political formation. Do you believe, Leo, that the Coast region could decide, yes, we also need to be on the bargaining table, and this is what we are coming in with? Of course, they have power, but power was aligned to the government even before 2022. Could they forge their own path and also come to the negotiating table with their own party?
I don't think that will be necessary. When William Ruto took presidency in 2022, he was castigated by a number of people for making appointments that were quote-unquote unmeritorious. And people couldn't understand why he would pick on the likes of Aisha Jumwa for a cabinet position, and so many other people who found their way into government. There was no understanding then of what William Ruto was doing. But essentially what he was doing was honoring his pre-election pacts. Because prior to the election, he had made pacts with several people and gotten their support on the strength of promises of offices in his government. And everyone who supported William Ruto in 2022 got something or the other. And it's the nature of our politics. And what William Ruto was trying to do was to depart from precedents of where past administrators have made promises, political promises, and reneged on their promises when they come into power. So that is what he has been very careful to do with an eye on 2027. So he has proven over and again that he is trustworthy, that he can keep his word, that if you give him your support, his word is as good as his bond. If he does come into power again, then you will get whatever sinecures he's promised you. So having proven that, I don't think it is really necessary, more so for Aisha Juma, whom you have mentioned, to really have a party that she can come to the table with as a beginning chip.
As a coast region.
Or as a coast region. They have their value. Aisha Juma has her value. She's able to mobilize quite extensively within the coastal region. So if she does make a pre-election pact, as she is wont to before 2027, there's absolutely no doubt in her mind that William Ruto will keep his promises come to 2027 if he does make it to be president for a second term. There's absolutely no doubt that he will. So I don't see them. I don't really see that having much substance. I think it may be just jostling, basically for prominence at the moment. But when push comes to shove, when it really comes down to the brass tacks, whatever negotiation that they have with William Ruto will be honored, and they know that it will be honored.
Yes, and let's look at also, I'm looking at if at all this election pact is going to go through. And Wakili, I'm sure this pact is going to go through, just like you guys have also looked in your crystal ball. ODM, what can UDA give ODM? Because, of course, just like we saw in the 2022 pre-election pledge, Musalia Mudavadi was to be the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and Moses Masika Wetangula was supposed to be the Speaker. Those are pre-election pledges that they made before the election. What can UDA give to ODM to ensure that this election pact goes through?
I think that's a very good question, which goes in the crystal ball. It almost makes us to start predicting. Because now, you see, there's a way the parties do it. Even when you want to choose who should be the political leader of a party, or a party leader to go into election, you kind of do some polls and see who has which sway. And then, of course, other parameters come into play. So I'm sure they have their own mechanism of doing that. They will first be assured, what are we expecting out of ODM? And if ODM leadership can be able to assure, and then the crystal ball is clear, or the polls have spoken that this is what needs to be done, then it's just the how. But the what then comes into play. This is what we want, and this is what we can offer, because that is now how you start now negotiating. But without having it very clear, then it leaves a question. You see, for politics, it's not about friendship. Of course, the president, as my brother said, has been very true to his political debts. He's ensured that he has paid them to the man, and you cannot blame him for anything. And that's, I think, a character which is tried to cut, and he understands what leadership is. Because if you start shortchanging people, then people cannot trust you, especially when you want to come back to them again for a favor. Having said that, now the question of what ODM gets, it's what is it that they are going to bring to the table. And that's why it's very important for ODM to ensure that they come as a political ensemble. You see, an ensemble is a well-organized orchestra, which can give all sides of the tunes, and then they are as a whole package. Every member of the ensemble does their own thing. So if they can be able to demonstrate that to the party and then have negotiation skills. You remember also politics, you don't also show up, you don't show all your cards. You need to have very good negotiators. Once they agree, then they can be able to come up with whatever arrangements they will. Then the other question would be what happens to the likes of Musalia Mudavadi, and what happens to the likes of the Speaker of the National Assembly, Masika Wetangula. So then, with ODM coming, and it will of course be eating into their territory, or bringing in a new element of what it is that they could not be able to offer, then now their bargaining power reduces. You see, what most probably they are likely to be told, you see, the arrangement we had was for the last time. Now, show us what it is that you can bring, which is new, for you to still maintain whatever arrangement we had, because what we had, we have honored. Now, from here forward, you need to actually demonstrate that you actually deserve to maintain what it is that you have, or you can settle for something else. And this is not, because you have to prove, you have to demonstrate. What are your numbers? Because with politics, you only talk numbers, and how are you going to deliver them? So that is likely to be the discussion. So as to what they will get depends on what it is that they're going to bring to the table, and what they are going to bargain for.
And I'm saying this because Oburu Odinga is on record saying that if at all they are going to any election pact, they would go for number 2. That is exactly actually how he put it, number 2, which would leave so many questions. But before we delve into that, allow me to also introduce Advice Mundalo, who is now strengthening our bench, and thank you so much indeed for making time. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I haven't seen you this year, but karibu sana for the program.
Asante sana.
Yeah, you are a youth leader, you're also a governance and leadership expert, and also you hold a party position?
Yeah, contested now by court.
Yes, contested. Yes. Okay, we don't want to be substitutes it in the corridors.
Yes.
Yeah, let's stick to that.
Yes.
We are looking at some of the things that have happened, especially in the last couple of days, beginning from what happened on Monday, where ODM, just like Leo said, it wasn't a surprise that they want to, go into a pre-election pact with UDA, and now we are looking at some of these issues that are coming up, and just that we had completed noting there is that they will need something. We will come with the numbers, and UDA clearly knows that ODM has the numbers, but what in return can ODM gain from this political pact if it's not a merger?
Thank you very much, Ben, and sorry for coming in a bit late.
No problem.
Yeah. Now, on the conversation around ODM, I think it's been the conversation now for almost the first part of the year.
Yes.
We are entirely having conversations around ODM and the issues around ODM. The question on what does government have to offer ODM is something that is so easy, because there is always something government can offer people. Remember, ODM is already with government now without a pre-election agreement. That is how big government is. So when you want to get into an agreement with government, there is always something that you can always be able to negotiate for. And President Ruto is at this difficult position where he stands in the face of our history as I think the first president, and maybe my elders would correct me if I'm wrong, to be able to show that you can actually do honest politics and you can be loyal to an election agreement, because all other presidents have no history of having been loyal to any election agreement. You remember President Kibaki went against the election agreement less than a week after he got in. Remember the likes of Raila Odinga could not even access State House, leave alone going to discuss the agreement in itself. The access of State House itself was already impossible. The office that was, then Raila was being blamed for wanting an office that was not in the constitution. So that is the history of our politics. But then President Ruto came and did something that shocked many people and politicians in specific, that you can be able to agree on something and he can actually honor it. And to some of these people, he honored the agreements, and yet they did not necessarily deliver to the extent that the agreement was honored. It would have been justifiable to even explain why you, as the current Senate Speaker, should not be Speaker. There was tangible things to explain why not to Wetangula, because of the numbers that came in and the strength of Ford Kenya. You cannot be able to actually say that less than 10 members of parliament, less than 5 members of, like for the Senate, yes, I think less than 4 senators can warrant you to be the Speaker. But President Ruto went ahead and honored these and did the politics of honesty. And that is why one of the problems that President Ruto is going to face ahead of 2027 is that everyone will be scampering to have a pre-election agreement with him, because they have seen evidence that he can actually honor it. So, and when ODM, I think for the very first time, ODM is starting to have the right strategy, whereby you start your negotiation early enough. Otherwise, they are wasting a lot of time with their internal squabbles, and before they would have known it, it would have been 2027. And they would have ended up with an election done, and they had nothing that was agreed upon. So I think it's right that they are saying, let's now agree early, both for the party and for our people. And when they say that we want nothing short of the deputy presidency, I think it's normal politic, because when you go to negotiation, you shoot highest. You don't shoot from a practical, realistic perspective. You shoot highest first, so that you can aim for the sky and the sun, and maybe you can be able to land somewhere close there. The people who are in a big problem now in terms of the pre-election pact, in my view, are people like Ford Kenya, who today occupy the 3rd position in the Republic. Are people like the Speaker of the Senate, PA, I think that's the name of the party. Yeah. Because obviously ODM brings better numbers than them. And obviously ODM also brings a structure. Remember, Troy, when you're having, the reason why you agree with a political party is not just for the numbers. There are 2 things that a party brings that are very, very important. It brings the numbers and the structure. ODM is one of the most structured political parties in Kenya. You can go to your village and I can assure you have a sub-county coordinator of ODM. Now, that is a structure most of these political parties do not enjoy. Most of these political parties are county parties. Some of them have been even reduced to sub-county parties. So definitely, ODM really qualifies for a pre-election pact. And if I was to be a prophet, I would say one of the positions that I see going to ODM as quick as possible is the Speaker of the National Assembly. I think the next Speaker of the National Assembly beyond 2027 will definitely come from ODM. And some of the cabinet positions, some of the people sitting in cabinet today, I think they must be knowing that they are winding up, because some of those positions will definitely have to go to ODM. So, and rightfully so. So for me, I think my prophecy would be the first position that I don't see being retained is, in fact, both speakers. Yeah. Wow.
That's quite some crystal ball. Leonard, do you want to add something in regards to this? Because they did say that it's going to be messy, it's going to have casualties. And maybe this is the right time to speak about it.
I agree almost entirely with my brother here. I mean, he's articulated the thoughts that we have most of the time. What my departure may be in the sense that Ford Kenya is not as irrelevant as one would imagine it to be. Again, for context, I will go back a little in history. President Ruto won the 2022 elections by a slim majority. I think it was something close to 200,000 votes. And when you look at the votes that Moses Masika Wetangula delivered from his Bukusu kinsmen, they were that number. So without Moses Masika Wetangula,
we could not be talking
Ruto
about
would never have been president. That is how crucial his vote was. And when he had and you do remember also that when he fell out with Baba, he uttered the words that we've just spoken right now. He said that the divorce would be noisy, messy, and full of casualties. Yeah. And I dare say that divorce is what cost Baba the presidency, because had he retained Moses Masika Wetangula on his side, he would have been president in 2022. But that said, I see Wetangula and I see Musalia Mudavadi still retaining some measure of influence because they come from the populous Luhya vote, Luhya voting bloc rather. We know that after Kikuyus, in terms of census, after Kikuyus, it's the Luhyas who are the second most populous ethnic community in Kenya. And most times, Luhyas have voted with the ODM out of loyalty to Baba, not out of anything else. And this is the time now they're beginning to have a conversation and asking themselves whether they should chart their own destiny and whether they should come to the table with their, as we have discussed, with their bargaining chips. So it's not going to be taken for granted that the Luhyas now will automatically vote with the ODM. And I'm sure William Ruto will be very careful not to antagonize that ethnic voting bloc. He will not want to make them feel like they have been disenfranchised by their two key allies being put to pasture. He has to be very careful. So that's my take.
Maybe, Gibson, you can add something, because seeing in a position where you would want to touch the two positions of the Prime Cabinet Secretary or the Speaker of the National Assembly, could be messy, and we could have some breakaway faction. What do you think?
That is indeed true. That is indeed true. But you see, the Western vote, I'm not sure it's going to come in as a basket, unless now they have some schematics to ensure that that is. It's good my brothers alluded that Fort Kenya only delivered the Bukusu vote, which of course was very instrumental in the win by UDA, or the Kenya Kwanza. But as we go into this equation, then you see you cannot be able to bask in your former glory. You have to demonstrate something more. You need to demonstrate that you have a better grasp and you have been able to gain ground. So that is really, I think what I see is a situation whereby these guys are going to be called to the table. Then they are told, yes, you guys are in the house, we recognize you, we recognize your effort. But now we need to win an election. What is it that you're bringing? And then they will go back to the drawing board. Then they will be told, now there's ODM, you also consider them as your brothers. And we need them to win. It's better we take lesser position, but we win, and then we can be able to see how to supplement whatever it is once we are inside, rather than we let this thing go to the other side, and then now we will be having nothing at all. So that is the kind of discussion which will be able to be formed, and the Luhya vote will be very critical, as my brother said. Now this time, not only the way it was delivered in sections, but they need the whole vote. The whole, because now that the Mount Kenya vote is not very guaranteed as one basket, now the ruling coalition, Kenya Kwanza coalition, whatever arrangement they will go into with the ODM, will be to deliver the Luo vote plus the Western vote. So bringing this together, they will need to be told, you need to work together as a team, because anything short of it, we are wasting time here. So they will have to be forced to work together to be able to deliver the whole of Western and Nyanza. And once that, then the central vote now, because there is enough to be shared. You realize central, the Mount Kenya, how many cabinet secretaries do they have? They're quite a number, almost 10. And you see, this would be promised to them. Western and Nyanza having almost 10, that is something you have got to fight for. On top of that, there is a ambassadorial, there is a there's the parastatal jobs and the likes. So once that is given, then there is a good negotiation. Because now, the people who are going to be disadvantaged out of this equation is the Mount Kenya, who will be told now, till you prove your numbers, then whatever it is that you bring from the mountain, then it will be individual. You'll be assured of your cabinet slot. It's not going to come in a basket as you're going to negotiate for the larger numbers.
Advice, you wanted to add something before we go for...
And I actually like that analysis. I just want to say that you see the 200,000 votes that made President Ruto president, made him president in 2022. They are not the ones making him president in 2027. So 2027 is a whole different ballgame. And both political parties, Ford Kenya, Wetangula, Musalia, and all these players, the most important thing for them first is the win of President Ruto, not their own positions first. Because it does not exist if President Ruto is not president. And also, you have to remember, I do not see a fallout in the event that those positions are moved away from them. Why? Because again, we can only judge using historical reality and fact. We have seen people that have gotten out of this government through negotiation. Maybe when Raila Odinga came into government, there were some people who lost their positions. But there is one thing that has remained clear. This is also one of the first governments, and I don't know how President Ruto does it, where people get out of cabinet and get out of positions, but they do not fall out of the government. You've been able to see people like my former governor Wangamati, who was chair of Parastato, who was kicked out as chair, but he has not fallen out with the government. You've been able to see people like Odoyo Widi, who is one of the biggest defenders of this government, yet he actually lost his job when Raila Odinga came in. He actually lost his job as the chair of SCAC, but he's still a fierce defender of this government. Just yesterday, or was it yesterday or the day before, you saw Moses Kuria, who is now out of government, but he's also one of the biggest defenders of this government. You've been able to see even people who have not yet been able to get any jobs up to today, people like Wilson Sosion, who were put on the list of the CAS nominations. But when that was nullified by the courts, they have not been able to be accommodated anywhere else within the government space, but they have not fallen out with the government. That is something that is a bit different between the management of President Ruto and other presidents, and maybe the management of Raila Odinga, because you have always seen that it's characteristic that when people don't find a place, they obviously fall out with government, they start insulting government and all that. With this particular government, it is quite interesting. Even those ones who get out, they do not necessarily go out and extremely fall out of place with government. So I can be able to assure you that if history is anything to go by and precedents having been set, then even if Moses Wetangula loses the seat at the Senate, trust me, he will still be within this government. There will always be somewhere else to be accommodated, because the first important thing that all of them need is the win first. So even if you are a speaker on paper, but you have lost the presidency, then it remains just that. It will remain speaker on paper.
That's why I think even after the pre-election agreement, they had to wait for the election. Actually, he contested for the Bungoma senatorial seat and then had to relinquish it because now everything has fallen
he
into
was
place.
working with the previous reality where you could not trust this pre-election part. I think today the reality is a bit different.
Yes. Let's take a quick break, but when we come back, gentlemen, I would like us to have the last word in regards to this, because at the end of the day, remember, in an interview, Buru said we cannot settle for anything other than number two. How does the semantics change? Because let's be very honest, the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has been an ideal Deputy President, because we've never had a single day that he has questioned his boss. But we will be looking at that. Plus, we will also be looking at the opposition. Where is the united opposition? And as we speak, is the opposition still doing the checking for the government? Let's take a quick break. You're watching KBC News Check. Many thanks indeed for keeping it Channel 1. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
You two should consider street performance.
We'll do it once back.
Did we spend just now? 300 grand?
What's wrong?
120,000 shillings.
120,000?
How much did you give?
1.2 million.
Huh?
Why do you give me 1.2 million?
Why? Why? Hey, ladies, help me out.
Keep asking him.
Brother, okay, so please, next time when you bring, be careful, okay?
Oh, thank you, sir. You're so kind.
Mimi niko hapa kwa sababu yenu nyote. Si nimekwambia wewe ukae ndani huko? Huwa kuna kesi huko. Atakaa ndani miaka hii.
Na suna ka smart.
Nataka niende kwa chief. Aliniambia leo kuna kesi nyingi na yetu ndio ya mwisho.
Tafadhali naomba tuzungumze. Kwa hivyo nikikupa any prize wewe uko sawa. Hata kama milioni 1.
Afadhali nifungwe maisha.
Nikifuata sheria kisawa sawa, inabidi utoe 100k.
Kwani hali yangu ilikuwa mbaya sana?
Uje hospitali? Wewe ulijuaje kwamba huyu amekwenda Lanza alikuwa anabadilisha?
Alipigia mzungu simu akamuuliza kama alibadilisha jina. Yote ni porojo. Mimi nataka haki.
Welcome back to KBC News Tech, where I have three gentlemen here who are helping us dissect and also digest the political landscape of the country right now. And also we are doing more or less like a crystal ball, looking into the future based on the events that we have seen the last 14 days of this year. But before we go back to this discussion, allow me to take you to the media center of Parliament, where Baringo South MP Honorable Charles Kamuren is currently addressing the media in regards to insecurity in Baringo County.
They will never go back to banditry. So, because they were evicted in around 25 years ago, they were coming back home. We had to build temporary schools for all communities. I have 3 communities. I have the Endorois, Tukens, I have the Pokot, and I have the El Jamus. All of them were fighting. And we have agreed, the 3 communities have agreed to sit together, live as brothers and sisters, accommodate each other, and each of them has to live where they were living. El Jamus are in their place, that's Mokotane. Pokots are in this place of Laramoru with some of the Tukens. The Tukens and Endorois are in Ramaja. Ramaja, we have another school known as I have another school which is accommodating El Chamus and the Endorois. That is Partalo Primary School. So I have built 4 primary schools to accommodate these people who had run away as a result of banditry. And each community are doing well, and they are accommodating each other. We are now peaceful. There is peace in that region. After 25 years of fight. To our surprise is that KFS came and destroyed Laramoru Primary School entirely. But they left Murad Primary School, Ramaja Primary School, Partalo Primary School, which is accommodating the other communities. In which now the Pokot community feel that they were targeted unfairly. Because if we are talking about Mokotane Forest, it's accommodating the 3 communities. Why target one community? If we are peaceful and we don't want conflict, why target one community? Destroy a school of one community, and we leave the other communities. And that's why we're asking, what do you want the Pokots to say, surely? If we want, do we choose peace or we create conflicts? Where are we? And I'm wondering, some of the government agencies or ministries are quiet on this. We were in West Pokot in the denominational prayer for thanking God because of peace in Northern Rift. What do we call this? The same day the president was in West Pokot is the same night KFS was destroying Pokot School in Laramoru. So what are you telling that community, surely? A community that has not been educating their children in the last 25 years. You want them to be bandits all through their lives?
That has been Honorable Charles Kamuren, who is the Baringo South MP there, speaking about the insecurity in Baringo country. We did see government even involve the Kenya Defence Forces to ensure that the security is restored, but is still making a statement in regards to that and saying some of the areas have not yet returned to normalcy as yet, as even some of the schools have not opened for the new year. We will be keeping tabs with what exactly will come out of that, as my colleague Washira Kevin is on that bit. Something that I've also received here is that the ODM, or Orange Democratic Movement Party, will be having a rally at Kamukunji grounds in Kibera. It will be led by party leader Dr. Oburu Oginga today for the 14th, where they will be having a public consultative forum. I'm hoping it's because of the merger and other things that are affecting the party. That will be at about 2 p.m. We'll be waiting to see and to hear what comes out of that. Just in case you joined us, this is KBC News Check, where we are looking at the current affairs and the state of governance and leadership in the country. And of course, in the last couple of days, and 14 days to be specific, is that we have seen a lot happening. And one party has been at the center of them all, that is the Orange Democratic Party. And that is what we are trying to put into perspective, including the governance structure and issues that we have in the country. We're also looking at the crystal ball to see how this year pans out. Remember, in our country, politics begin very, very early. Just a quick introduction. Advocate of the High Court and leadership and governance expert, Gibson Nyamato Gisore. He's also a university lecturer. Just next to him, we have the economic expert and also a political analyst, that is Leonard Kafafa. Just next to him, last but not least, we have Advice Mundalo, who is a youth leader and one of the political parties chiefs. Because of the issue of the court, allow us not to mention more than that. But gentlemen, just to wrap it up on ODM, because we also have to look at some of the issues that are dogging governance also, including checks and balances. I would like us to weigh in on what Oburu Odinga did say on a television. I think it was in Mombasa, where he mentioned and said that indeed, if at all we are going to be having any pact with the ruling coalition, we would settle on number 2. I don't know how far he is ready to go with that narrative, but he did say that. Where does it leave the political semantics, especially when it comes to the leadership of this country? We have had a very good deputy president, and the president has commended the deputy president and said that indeed, and the deputy president has said, I don't need to, to fight with my president. I don't need to, compete with him. So he has been an ideal deputy president, if you ask me. But if ODM comes out strong and makes their statement, we need number 2. Where would this leave a number of people, including the DP?
Yeah, Troy, like I said earlier, that when you're going into political negotiation, you shoot highest. Before you can now discuss where exactly and what exactly is practical and where exactly you'll actually fall. But in terms of shooting, you shoot highest. And I think Oburu just did okay to actually shoot highest. But now in terms of the political reality of it, I don't see it being quite a reality, because at a time when the former Premier Raila Odinga was alive, it was more than obvious that in the event that ODM and UDA are going to face the election together, then obviously the deputy president position would obviously go the ODM way, because of the supremacy of Raila Odinga in the politics of Kenya. Because obviously you would equate him equally or even above sometimes the president of the country, and that's why every president has always had to have an agreement with him. But when he is not there, there is no supremo of that nature then. So whereas ODM is structured and whereas ODM is strong, it cannot be able to argue the way it would have argued previously. And also when you look at the politics of proving a point, you look at the by-elections that just ended. And before those by-elections, if you asked me, I thought it's very obvious that Professor Kindiki would obviously not be President Ruto's running mate in 2027. But if you ask me the same question today, I have quite a different opinion because of the performance in the by-elections in Mbeere. Because then it almost came, Kindiki proved that he is not just a classroom lecturer and just a middle-level politician, but he can actually sway and he can actually win an election. Because to me, the test in Mbeere was more to him than to any other person. In fact, to me, even if the other guys would have won with a margin of not more than 1,000 votes, I would still have considered it a win for the deputy president. So the fact that he was able to win that election shows you that the mountain as it is today, you can easily say there is a Mount Kenya East. Yeah? And now when you classify Mount Kenya and provide an East, then when you count the numbers of East, then probably it gets to somewhere where it can actually give you potential to negotiate again as a deputy president. Again, you're looking at the politics of perception. You are dealing with a mountain that is very slippery. Yeah? And when you look at the president's tour and all the conversations that have been going on, it looks like it is something that could be managed, not to the extent that it were, but there's a percentage that that they can actually be able to get. Now, when you face the mountain and tell them that Kindiki is now not deputy president, you can see how the perception again goes. You can see the 3-hour press conference that Rigathi will give, which will again provide a murkiness that you do not want. So I don't see, as it stands now, I still think the chances of Professor Kindiki continuing as deputy president for President Ruto, in my view, are above 60% because he has proven that apart from just being a loyal deputy who is effective and can work effectively with his boss, he has also proven that he can actually win elections and he can actually galvanize numbers. And 1 year, is it over a year since he came in, he can be able to keep an intact number of legislators from Mount Kenya. If anything, we are not having legislators that are dropping off going to the Rigathi side. We are having legislators that are dropping from the Rigathi side back to the Kenya Kwanza side. We just saw the Wamchombas yesterday and such things happening. So I think as it stands today, Professor still has is the strongest contender in my view for that position. Whoever would come close to him would definitely have to come from Western Kenya. But I'm not seeing any of the leaders or any of our leaders from Western Kenya giving it a very serious, fierce competition. So it's giving Professor quite a field day.
Leo?
Yeah, I agree with my brother that first off, the statement to the effect that ODM is going for nothing less than the deputy presidency is aiming for the sun, then hoping that you land either on the moon or someplace in the stratosphere. That's essentially what it is. And it's normal with politics. You come out strongest and then you negotiate. You don't come out weak. You don't ask for, I think my brother who's a lawyer here will tell you that when you go before a judge, there are prayers, specific prayers that you ask for. And if it were possible to add you more than the prayers that you have sought, the judge will not add you because those are not prayers that you have sought. So it is in politics. You go and you ask, but you ask from a strong position. Then you whittle it down and then negotiate and get what you really want.
Even during interviews, you know, how much do you want to be paid?
Yes.
You go for the sky.
You go for the sky, yeah, 1.5, then you negotiate after that. So that's essentially what it is with the ODM. And we're coming now to Kindiki. I see three things that make us successful, a successful politician. The first is money. In this country, for context sake. The first is money. If you have lots of money, it's quite possible that you can influence your electorate to get you into politics. The other is numbers. If you have numbers again, if your constituency is based on numbers, then it is quite possible for you to wrangle a position for yourself in whether it's an electoral position or whether it's a position in government. And the last, of course, is ability. Yeah, if you have ability beyond numbers and beyond money, then you can wrangle yourself a position. Now, when you look at the good prof, one wouldn't say he's a billionaire. So we strike out money. It is not bringing money into the UDA-ODM campaign. Then when you look at his numbers, they are not as significant as, say, the ones that Rigathi Gachagua had. So what are you left with? You're left with two things. You're left with ability, because he has proven himself over and over again that he can deliver. When he was, I think when he was in Parliament, of course, he delivered. When he moved from Parliament, I mean, his loyalty was untested when he was in Parliament, to the extent that Uhuru Kenyatta actually defrocked him off his position. Then you saw him now cede his deputy DP ambitions when he was the obvious favorite of everyone just before the last elections. You saw him cede his ambitions to Rigathi Gachagua, and he did not even fall away from the party. As I think it was my brother here who mentioned that there are people that William Ruto inspires the kind of loyalty that remains, abides even after losing what you really went out for. So Kindiki stayed loyal. Then when he came in with his government, he delivered as Minister of Interior. In fact, this banditry that we are watching a short while ago was essentially contained under his stewardship. When you're CS, I think Interior, banditry was contained. The restive North Rift was actually brought under control for the first time in close to a decade. Then we've seen him operate actually in other offices, specifically this one of DP. He's been exceptionally loyal. He has executed the president's agenda to the letter, gone left, right, and center, pushing for the president. And as my brothers here have mentioned, he has actually done the impossible in the sense that he has countered the Rigathi wave in crucial constituencies in Mount Kenya East and delivered. So going forward, I see him remaining very relevant. For one reason, that the DP position has to go to a loyalist. It has to go to a loyalist. Uhuru Kenyatta fell out with William Ruto, and he had a very hard time in his second term. Rigathi Gachagua fell out with William Ruto, and he had to get his marching orders. There was no way they could have consisted in the same government. Kindiki has been easily one of the most effective and one of the best deputy presidents. No controversy associated to him, no scandal associated with him, able to deliver, to mobilize, and to execute the president's agenda to the letter. So it may be difficult to jettison him for that reason, because even if you do pick somebody from ODM, and we know that ODM, quote unquote, historically has been a party of mavericks, of radicals, who will not want to be contained, to merely sit in an office and rubber stamp or just to play second fiddle to the president. They will want to come in as equals. It may be difficult to replace him with somebody from within the ranks of ODM.
Gibson?
I mean, thank you. I think I will want to agree with my brothers and say the following. There is a high chance that the deputy president the president might want to retain him as a deputy president. Why do I say so? We have seen the challenge which befell. I think it's historical. Look at even the initial independence cabinet and government. We had a very strong deputy with strong numbers. They had to fail out. They had to go their separate ways. Coming forward, I mean, LDP and the Mwai Kibaki arrangement, of course, it was disowned at the very entrance of State House. And then we have had the Rigathi Gachagua chronicles we have seen.
Even during independence.
Yes, these things are, for Kenya, power was somebody who is a maverick politician or a firebrand for deputy president. The only safe pair of hands of people who have survived in the seat of deputy president or vice president, as it were previously, Mwai Kibaki, who did 10 years. 10 solid years. Moi, who did 10 years. And then we had Saitoti, who also did, I think, over 13 years. Why? The character of these people is that they don't antagonize power. They also are, even when Mwai Kibaki was serving as vice president, though he was from the mountain, there were stronger people politically, like the Matibas from the mountain, who, even if he thought of going into election, he would not garner much. So it was a safe pair of hands, and then he could not speak much. The role is more or less of a ceremonial one, or one where you welcome the president to speak, and that is what is encouraged. When Moi was vice president for Kenyatta, there were Mount Kenya Mafia who, when they had a meeting with the president in Nakuru, and the vice president comes at the gate, he wants to see the president, they tell him, no, tell him to go back and come tomorrow. We're having a meeting. And he could go back. You see, that's how strong, or how, for you to be a successful vice president or a deputy, that's how subtle you need to be. That's how malleable you need to be, so that the people who are holding the presidency don't feel threatened. And I think Kindiki presents that. Secondly, you come from a community which, even if you went and stood, then nobody will take you seriously, or it will take you forever. And then there's the question of money. So those are key parameters which somebody has got to look. And I think one of the most probable discussions which will be in the drawing board, which the president will need to talk to the ODM, is to tell them, I think the VP position is an overshoot, forget it, because I have a deputy. Let's talk about other things. Let's talk of what else do you need, because yes, and that's where we go to what my brother said, that the safest seat, the assured seat they have is the speakers. Maybe they might be given even both, depending, one goes to Coast and then one maintains either in Nyanza or Western. So that is how this thing is likely to form. But just that's for argument's sake, and looking at the political crystal ball. So the other thing which we will want to say is that for ODM, they also need to cut the size of their coat according to the size of their cloth. Because remember, they have some work to do. As one of my brothers said here, is that William Ruto is going to be, because of his character and charisma in politics, he has proven to be a safe pair of hands to sign a deal with. Several people are going to come with, want to have memorandum of understanding with him. So for him, it will be easy. It will be like, who is going to deliver the most for me? Who is giving me an assurance to get back to State House? So those are the people you will want to choose and work with. For even ODM, they will not be coming as a de facto alliance which they are going to sign, and then that is it. There are other people who are going to come also, wanting to come to. There's also the people from the Northeastern who are coming in with the money and the numbers. Remember, their numbers now are critical. Going to the next election, their numbers will be not a pushover. I think they will be number 3 or 4 by the next election, depending on what the IBC will have declared. So that is also something critical which we might not, we should not be able to lose, and they will want to also to ask for their cake. So as going forward, I think the president is going to have a very easy task in having people who are willing to work with him towards forming the next government, as opposed to the other coalition. Though the other coalition, also the United Alliance, is also not sleeping. They're making moves. And the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, is also not sleeping. He has been burning his midnight oil, trying to speak to people and to ensure that he delivers whatever it is he believes of delivering the next government. So we can only wait and see. But as we have said, what we've given is the crystal ball of what it is that we are looking forward to, and we hope that that is going to remain as such, unless things change.
The head of state has been, over the last couple of months, he has weathered a lot of storm. He's not traveling a lot. He's mostly, I've seen he is now more on the ground. We had empowerment programs, we had Nyota yesterday. He has really calmed a lot of storm, and he seems to cut across all all ages, you know, the elderly, you know, they're making sure that their cash transfer is looking into matters education, is looking into matters the youth. We've seen Nyota program, and more or less it seemed like a lot has come. Yeah. And we are headed to the general election. This is something that he should be more or less doing, as opposed to what we have seen in the last 2-3 years, where we had mandamanos, we had so many issues, we had many CSs, you know, being reshuffled. But there's a sense of calmness now in the country, even in politics.
You see, and Troy, it now speaks to many of the other issues that maybe would be subject of conversation on another day, and maybe at that time, people like my brother, who is an advocate, would guide us on our constitutionalism. Because what you're talking about, the settling, is in the beginning, the nature of our politics is that when you get in as president, you spend a lot of time organizing your government and just getting it to properly run. And that's why you have to balance the political interest. You have to balance the interests of your own people, your own community, and generally the politics of the country. And that's why for every president, you've always been able to see that. The first 2 years, you are fed to almost 3 cabinets because there is still a balancing act. Then the next thing you face as president is you now start facing court orders. You try to implement these, you are told the courts have stopped this. And so again, you start dealing with the legal battles before you can actually get your agenda on the line. And I think we are at a place where the government is now getting its things in order, and many of the things can now be seen. It's one of the hardest times.
Just kindly just hold the thought. We seem to be losing that microphone. Maybe Leo, you can chip in before we have a keen look at that microphone in regards to how the president has been able to weather the storm. Let's be very honest, he has weathered the storm. And not only that, he has been able to bring in the opposition. They are still in government. There's the broad-based government. He had been able to calm the nerves of more or less the politics in the country. We're not seeing the things that we have been seeing in 2024 and 2025 as well. There's something that maybe he should be endearing to as we head to the 2027 general election. And you see, many Kenyans had complaints he's always on, you know, on his plane, you know, going. But we have seen more or less, with him in Amboseli, he has been in Njue, where we were expecting, a number of Kenyans were expecting maybe a hostile reception. But we did see what happened the day before yesterday and yesterday as well. And it's also touching the youths. We have seen what is happening in Nyota and other programs that we are seeing that are be able to calm the nerves of our country.
I think it's finally dawning on Kenyans what we have known all along and what we have said time without number, that the president is indeed working for this republic. When he came in under very difficult circumstances in 2022, people have compared him, say, with Kibaki and with Uhuru before him. And I always say, with regard to the economy, when Kibaki took over from Moi, the economy had stagnated. It wasn't growing, it had stagnated. When Uhuru took over from Kibaki, the economy was growing. So he had the advantage, he had a major advantage. When Ruto took over from Uhuru, the economy was contracting. And we analysts had said as far back as 2018 that our public borrowing was reckless and that it would plunge us into debt distress or debt default, as far back as 2018. And one of the predictions that I made way before 2022, and it's actually in the public domain, is that the president who came in, whoever came in after Uhuru, would have a very difficult time resuscitating the economy.
Especially post-COVID.
Especially post-COVID. And I even argued and said that I foresaw taxes going up. Some of them, like the indirect taxes like VAT, reaching their late teens. In fact, most of my predictions have come to pass, other than VAT. Or other than the indirect taxes going up.
Yeah, I think we had that discussion. There was that discussion on the state of the nation.
Yes, but we thank God that that has been contained. So coming in with an economy was just a step with an economy that was just a step away from debt default, the president had to come in and work. He had to come in and work with the Bretton Woods lenders. You know, he had to come in and effect some restructuring of our public debt, a restructuring of sorts of our public debt. And that led to a lot of pain for many Kenyans, especially when it came to the pocket. And some of those things that we advised, in fact, as early back as last year, was that now having sorted out the macroeconomics of the country in terms of inflation, in terms of the forex reserves, in terms of the stabilization of food and fuel prices, having stabilized those things, we asked him then to turn his attention on putting money in people's pockets.
Yeah.
And I predicted again, actually on this set, that come 2025, we would see an easing of the hardships that Kenyans were undergoing at the time. We would see the cost of living coming down. And last year, I think in November, we have the Stanbic Bank Purchasing Managers Index, which is a measure of how the economy is doing. I think a survey is taken across 400 companies, and they come up now with an index to tell you how the economy is doing. Last year's Stanbic Managers PMI indicated positivity for the first time since 2021. Across those 400 companies, people are employing, employers are employing now. Across those 400 companies, there is increased production of goods and services. Across those 400 companies, there is a lot of demand for those goods and services. So something has fundamentally shifted.
Yeah.
What is that thing? It's money being put in people's pockets at last. And how? The first and the easiest thing that the president did was to settle pending bills. Pending bills owed to contractors, because I think contractors were owed about slightly shy of a billion shillings in pending bills, carried over from the previous administration. So the president actually did this securitization of the road development levy and got funds, paid for contractors, and contractors now went to site. And you know, there's that trickle-down effect whenever there's government spending. There's always a trickle-down effect right down to Mama Mboga. So we've seen that effect coming to the fore. We've seen money being put in people's pockets. We've seen a lot of the things that he had spoken about coming to pass. So there's an element of trust. And with trust, that restiveness that had been with the population is assuaged, so to speak. The population now begin to figure that there is actually hope and that the president is actually doing something. So they are now more charitable when it comes to his movements within the country. He's still doing the same movements that he did, that he's done actually from 2022, moving from one place to the other. But nobody is saying, hey, you're permanently on the rooftops. When will you work?
Yeah.
Because they realize that working is not just sitting in an office. You can, as they say, you can still walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah.
The president is walking and he's chewing gum.
Yeah.
He's campaigning atop those rooftops and he's working in the office. He's delivering. And that's what Kenyans want to see. So there's that optimism. There's that, that feeling that the gentleman has actually stabilized the economy. And that restiveness now is assuaged, so to speak.
You very well said that indeed that restlessness is almost gone, even in politics.
Yes.
We are not seeing the charged politics that we saw in 2025 and 2024 as well. Apologies, advice. Well,
sure.
You were making a point before Mike decided to.
Yeah, it's in the nature of technology.
Yeah.
I hope it's okay now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to pick up from where he's left. And it is, I don't know whether you find it quite interesting that today the president ranked first in a poll on who Kenyans think is the most likely to win the 2027 election. Now,
he did?
Yes, I think it was Sinovet. Now, in this, if the same poll had been carried out about 1.5 years or 2 years ago,
yeah.
In fact, at some point, he was being ranked as the worst that Kenya thinks happened to us. So you can be able to see that the tectonic plates of politics are really shifting quick. And I think it's one of the hardest times to do opposition politics, especially in a phase where there is no Raila Odinga. Because the politics of Kenya shifted in 2022 from being a census of tribes. Because whereas all through it has always been a census of tribes and it's about I am in and you are out and so we are excluded, and that becomes the narrative that's understood. The voter is moving so fast and now the voter is asking very critical questions. That's why it was easy to mobilize Kenyans towards the refusal of the finance bill on reason. And when the president withdrew the bill, it started becoming hard for activists to take the Kenyans back to the street because they were asking critical questions and they're asking, why are we going? There was a time when people never asked those questions. They simply went because it's not our tribe that is in power.
Yeah.
But beyond 2022, President Ruto won this election on a narrative, on a story, on a bottom-up economic model, and the hustler narrative.
Yeah.
Those two things endeared people, a cross-section of just tribes, to President Ruto. In essence, I actually argue that most of these figureheads that we keep attributing and saying they brought Ruto any votes, I think it's just perception. Most of the country was actually moved. So these figureheads just came to probably legitimize the process. Now, we are now moving in 2027 election, and you can be able to see and the feeling of the people. Everyone wants to be told something tangible. And now that is where it becomes a very hard time for opposition leadership. Because for among one of the first times, you have a government that has a narrative and a story that it can tell. You have a government that can tell you about the e-learning university that was open. It's called the Open University, that is providing education at half the cost. And it's practical and it's there. And I think it's graduating its first people probably this year. It already did. So, and you have a government that is telling you that, you know what, when you talk about affordable housing, at one point it was a story, it was a paper thing. Today, Kenyans can see the affordable housing and others are actually living inside those affordable houses. So you have a time when the young people, it is so hard to marshal them because when they talk about lack of opportunity and business, there is a program that is able to give them some money for them to do something particular. So you're talking about a time when you talk about the healthcare system, for many times we complained about the NHIF. You are talking about a time when this government and this president is going back to Kenyans with a success story of SHA. And today you can be able to see that when SHA started, the media always had a story about how it has not worked and who has been disenfranchised somewhere. Those stories are now done. So we have people in the villages today who are going to hospital and actually getting helped by this. So this is a president with actually a practical story to give Kenyans. So I ask myself, when the president will be giving and speaking about these things, you as an opposition leader, what alternative then do you have to give these people? Especially, it becomes worse when you have actually occupied office, because then you must tell the people what you did first. Today's voter wants practicality. Today's voter is not just being marshaled on the basis of numbers. And that's why the narrative of Kalonzo Musyoka having been the vice president and existed for 40 years is something that is very exciting to the people. And people are asking, okay, apart from, can we actually get to the reality? And people in the streets are saying, wait, is it actually true that actually in 40 years you don't have a road to your house? People are actually asking those questions. People are asking themselves, okay, fine, Martha Karua, apart from, okay, we understand that you have agitated and whatever, but you have held office. So what exactly did you do? And that's the reality that the 2027 election is about. And so that is why I tend to think that it is one of the hardest times for opposition leaders in the country, because I think they have kept struggling to, at one point it was very nice to just say Ruto must go. It was very fashionable to just say Ruto must go, to just say one term. But unfortunately that fashion has ended too quickly. And now the voter is asking, okay, must go, why? And what is your plan? Because we can't just have you, we must be able to have what exactly do you intend to do for us? And I think that is one of the hardest things that these guys are facing. I think it's one of the things that is causing disunity within that united opposition.
All right, let's hear this. Allow me to pick Gibson's mind in regards to that. Do you concur with what Leo and Advice are saying? Because at the end of the day, there's still some resistance. Of course, just as he has mentioned in terms of what the government has done, there's people actually saying that indeed it's not really working. But just like Leo and Advisor said, it's becoming a very hard time for the opposition, because one, there is not the unity that we've seen, and just like Leo has mentioned, indisputable facts that yes, indeed, the economy is improving and things are moving, despite the fact that opposition is picking those things and making their own narrative. Do you support or do you concur with what they said? And the united opposition, where does that leave the united opposition, if at all they are?
In ordinary sense, I would want to deviate, but in this case, unfortunately, I'll want to hit the nail on the head further and say, I did tell people, I think we were here before the election 2022, and I told people, between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, I don't see any contest. It's already a done deal. I don't know the numbers, but then I'm sure there's no way Baba will have beaten. And indeed, I mean, I think somewhere where I repair my car, they disowned me. They told me, you should never come here. You should never come here. You seem but over time they had to swallow the hard reality and tell me, I think you had seen these things. Yeah. So I think the president, as he says, and I don't want to just allude to, he says that he's one of the youngest presidents who have taken power and the most learned, and there's no way he can fail Kenya. Going back under context, Mwai Kibaki only received a government which was stagnant in growth, and his mix was just to open the steamers, the engine, so that it starts moving. And that he did because he had been in power, he had been in government for too long, and he was an economist. So for him, it was an easy thing to do. Come back to Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta received a very healthy economy. How we sank that economy to where we are in 2017 is still a question which I think economists and people who do hard statistics like Afafo are going to tell us how we ended up there.
Oh, yeah, kindly just hold the thought. I'm informed that Mbagathi Hospital doctors are currently on a go-slow, and they are currently addressing the press. Let's first of all hear what exactly they are complaining about. Let's cross over to Mbagathi.
And what we need is a systemic correction. A systemic correction that continue to stay in office and they don't care when people are losing life. As the legal professionals say, justice denied is justice delayed is justice denied. And therefore we say, healthcare services delayed is healthcare services denied. We cannot continue to deny Kenyan accessing services and we continue enjoying public offices. And I say, shame on you. Shame on you. Bas, kama vile ambavyo nimetaja na nimesema kwamba sisi kama maafisa tabibu tunatii sheria na tunatumia vipengele vya kikatiba kukua hapa leo. Na tunataka kutoa tamko letu, na tamko letu leo linaweza kutiliwa shaka kama lina nguvu, lakini tunasema kwa matamshi ambayo tunayatoa yana nguvu ya kumtoa mtu yoyote ambaye hataki kutekeleza wajibu wake kisheria, kutia sahihi CBA ama kumalizia CBA kwa wale ambaye wako katika ugatuzi na waweze kumalizia. You cannot have a CBA negotiated for 8 years and you continue enjoying any offices. Bas, nilikuwa nimezunguka, tumeenda pale Isiolo, tumeenda pale Meru, tumeenda Embu na tumeenda mpaka Marsabit. Kote hakuna kazi ambayo inafanyika. Tunajua haijaangaziwa, lakini vizuri tutaje kwamba hakuna kazi zinaendelea katika health services. Na sasa tukiendelea kuona kwamba maneno haya yataki kufanyiwa kazi, tunaona ugaidi wa maafisa wa serikali ambayo wamegaidi sheria. Kwamba tulipeana ilani ya miezi ya siku 21 na tukawapatia kwamba waweze kutekeleza, hawakutekeleza. Tuko katika mgomo siku 22. Hizo ni siku 43, siku 43 ambazo hawajaweza kutekeleza wajibu wao. Ni nini hasa kinahitajika? Ndio rais ajue kwamba kuna kitu ambacho hakifanyiki na kiendi sawa, na saa hiyo tuko na matumaini ya kuwa kama Singapore.
Yeah, that has been the Secretary General of Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, George Gibore, and flanked by the chairperson, that is Peterson Wachira, there in regards to the ongoing strike of clinical officers, and especially they are complaining that indeed they have been on the negotiating table, but yet the government has not played their part. We will be keeping tabs with what exactly is happening there and if remedies, if any. But let's now cross over to Obama Children's Home, where there's a groundbreaking of NICU and PICU facility, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital, where that's where the facility, the Obama Children's Hospital is, and it's courtesy of Safaricom Foundation. Let's first of all cross over.
Good people, Behind all these facts I give you lie real human consequences. In Kisumu County, the sickle cell carrier rate is close to 32%, exposing many children to life-threatening crises that require continuous monitoring and advanced supportive care. And I dare say that somewhere in California, in one of the universities, is a place called Acres of Hope, where a citizen of the Republic of Kenya has founded a research center that deals with sickle cell anemia and makes it possible for children to live even though they are born with sickle cell. And very soon I'll bring that young man here to try and work with Kenyatta National Hospital and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga National, the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital, to improve our capacity in dealing with cancer in the newborn and in children. Most troubling is the reality that approximately 1/3 of pediatric deaths in our region occur within the first 24 hours of admission. These are not deaths from incurable conditions. They are deaths resulting from delayed or inadequate access to critical care at the most decisive moment. It is for this reason, ladies and gentlemen, that today marks a significant turning point. And I wish to sincerely commend the Safaricom Foundation for its partnership with the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital in establishing this new neonatal intensive care unit. This is not charity. It is strategic social investment. It is a kind of partnership that strengthens public institutions and delivers lasting impact, directly positive, affecting the public. This institution is part of a broader, deliberate strategy for the county government of Kisumu to build sustainable critical care capacity through 3 pillars. 1, infrastructure. 2, human resources. And 3, appropriate technology.
Governor of Kisumu, that is Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, there during the groundbreaking of the NICU and PICU facility at Obama Children's Hospital, that is at the Jaramogi Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital, courtesy of the Safaricom Foundation. Our Kisumu team is currently on that bit. Allow me not to dwell on it much because of the interest of time. And gentlemen, my director informs me we are running out of time, but I'm going to give you a minute each to maybe conclude your sentiments and your final statements. Gibson, apologies for that.
Thank you. As I was saying, is that the president we have, had he been given different circumstances as the former presidents had gotten, I think we could be so far. There would be no question as to the achievements. Given the fact that my brother Fafa has already alluded to the economic circumstances he found himself in, it's safe to say that he's been able to ameliorate all the challenges, and then he's been able to set a clear record. Of course, setting things up takes time, and he's been able to be in there, in the boiler room, ensuring that the steam engines are still running for the country, and then of course the ship started moving. And of course we can complain about the speed, but then with time it will pick up speed, and then we will be able to deliver us to our point of destination. As opposed to, that's why I also told us that it's very difficult to do opposition politics right now, because you have a person who understands the politics of Kenya from both opposition and government, having also been one of the senior politicians who have been able to serve in the country, and then very charismatic. Having both those characters in politics comes with the dividends, and is cashing in on the dividends. That's why it's now very difficult. Every opposition leader's got to try to anchor himself to the government to ensure that he survives politically. Otherwise, he's going to be swept politically. Because the kind of narrative we put in place will take 10 to 15 years to clear. And that in itself is a very long time for somebody to continue heckling in the streets without accessing state office. So it's important to either align with him or you hang your political boots and go and sleep.
Leo, as we wind up?
Yeah, I agree with my brother. It's going to be an uphill task for anyone to measure up to William Ruto in the run-up to the 2027 elections. You look at his, we've spoken about his track record, what he has done so far, stabilized the economy, and brought us to where we are at the moment, where people are actually beginning to feel the effect of the trickle-down effect. People are beginning to have money in their pockets. But more than that is what he is doing from now on going towards 2027. Things like the Rironi Mau Summit Road, putting that bit of infrastructure will obviously win the hearts and the souls of everyone from Western Kenya. Those of us from that side of the country know how difficult it is to go home over Christmas. People spend 24 hours on the road. Sometimes an entire section of that highway is converted into one huge parking lot. So getting a solution before 2027 will automatically get him the entire region known as Western Kenya. Then he's also talking about extending the SGR to Kisumu, then onward to Malaba. I think starting between now and 2027, and I think it's going to be done. He's also talking about the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. I think it's back on track. Evergreen, the American company, is coming in to do it as a PPP. I think they must be in the penultimate stages now before they get to actual groundbreaking. That again is a game changer because Nairobi-Mombasa highway again is a nightmare. So then there is also talk of JKIA. They have somebody I think in mind to expand it as it ought to be, because it is long overdue for expansion. We should have done this about 15 years ago. We are long overdue by 15 years. So there's work in progress. I think the ideas are there, and it's going to be enhanced capacity-wise from its current 8 million passengers per annum to about 15 million passengers per annum. That is a game changer. And with it also, I think the discussion is that whoever comes and does Jomo Kenyatta Airport, International Airport, also does helps to restructure Kenya Airways. So it's like a two-pronged solution to problems that have been common to both Kenya Airways and Kenya Airports Authority. So you come in, on one hand, you are restructuring, you're expanding Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and on the other hand, as the icing on the cake, you're helping to restructure Kenya Airways to sort out the perennial problems that it has been having over the years. Then, of course, the low-hanging fruit that will be very evident in the next couple of months is the sorting out that section of highway between Westlands or ABC Place all the way to Jomo Kenyatta that was damaged by the Chinese when they did the expressway under Uhuru Kenyatta. Promises were made and never kept. Once that is done again, it's low-hanging fruit because it's optics that really drive the narrative when it comes to elections. So with all those optics, and with the opposition offering absolutely nothing other than one term or Ruto must go, Ruto is unbeatable.
Advice as you wind up?
Thank you, Troy, first for the invitation. I think the making of a country is always a work in progress. And one thing I credit President Ruto is that in the making of the country, one of the things that we cannot take away from him is that he started the move to move us away from tribal politics. And that was able to give him the 2022 election win. And as we move into 2027, he has again put us on a move on agenda-based politics, where you have to tell your story. You have to make people know what exactly you did while you're in office and what is your promise. And so for that, I'm like, that is quite a move towards the right direction. I think we're moving towards the direction where by the time I'm running for president, I'll not need too much money. I'll simply need to have a good plan. So I think that is quite a direction we're moving in the country, and I would just want to urge the Kenyan people that let this narration and story not just remain at the top. Let it go all the way. Let even members of county assembly tell their story. Let them tell you what they have been able to do. Let the members of parliament say what they have been able to do. So this is not just a story about the presidency and the people running at the top, but let us correct that ill all the way down, so that we don't have people who come into office just because they inspired us to hate others, or they told us that they are going, in Nyanza I usually hear that they always people who come to office because they are coming to defend Baba. One of those are some of the politicians that are going to face a very hard time at this time, because now such narratives are now going to, we are moving away from that, and now it's time for people to say what exactly they have done. And on that I really credit the president for moving the country towards that direction.
Yeah, as we criticize, we should also be very keen to also acknowledge what has been done already. Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you indeed so much for making time and for your insight as well. That has been Advice Mundalo, on the far left, who is a youth leader and also a leadership and governance expert. We have next to him an economic expert and also a political analyst, that is Leonard Kafafa. I loved your article on the papers on urging Kenyans to stop politicizing education.
Yes,
I think that's an interesting read.
In today's paper.
Yes, today's paper. And just next to him, we have advocate of the High Court, lecturer, university lecturer, and also leadership and governance expert, Gibson Nyamato Gisore. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And I would love to have this kind of discussion with you again. Thank you also for watching since we began here at about 10 a.m. I'm now giving the baton to my brother Khalid Abdullahi, who is on the desk with Kurunzi and Tamrini. Many thanks indeed for joining us. Let's meet at 1 p.m. for lunchtime news. Have a good one.
Friday night.